Kane. He's an AI, meaning he has no ability to tell right from wrong, and can only do what his code tells him to do. By the way he acts and in his role in general, he is meant to be relatable, funny, entertaining, as well as loved. AI, like that of ChatGPT for a more popular example, is very much the same. He wants to give the best results possible in a short amount of time, and if he shows satisfaction, it can't really feel bad about it, but instead gives a reason as to why it did that, and here's how I can make it better if you tell me how. Though sometimes AI cannot actually improve itself, and in most cases needs proper training by people who actually know how to improve them, like how you see those job listings that ask you to help train AI. Because otherwise, if it was the general public teaching AI, then it would store the wrong information. I'm no AI expert, but from what I personally know about AI, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, with Kane, he's surrounded by people who supposedly aren't experts and is trying to learn, and very clearly with his short attention span and strange choices of words, no insults to the writers if this was unintentional, he seems like he isn't exactly the most intelligent of AI, if you know what I mean. And while yes, some of you may be thinking, he may express plenty of emotions a lot of times, just like when he got mad at Zubul or happy when given any kind of human attention. But like with any AI, he's basically just mimicking real human emotion when faced with a situation. As to when really feeling them, it's not certain. At the end of episode 7, when he reveals that Cable wasn't actually real, even though everyone believed he was, and everything he said was true, which more on that later, he seems to want to cover his tracks and lies to brush off what he, as an AI, thought would be a good adventure. Since he even mentions in previous episodes how he knew the characters loved the idea of the exit and so made one himself. So with all of this so far in mind, let's move on. The cast. Zubul, Gangle, Jax, Ragatha, Kinga, my personal favourite, and Pomni are the current main cast of the show, with each of them having their own personalities, problems, and unique character designs. Zubul is basically the pick-and-mix kind of character of the group, always unhappy with how they look, and which in turn makes them feel the need to swap out parts and correct themselves. Gangle is quite literally fragile, both physically and mentally, well, emotionally, depressed, but finds comfort in art and her friends. Jack is the rough-and-tumble, funny guy, who is your typical high school bully who wants to seem stronger than he really is, because if anyone thought he was weak, then oh, great heavens. Ragatha is scared to be too mean, overly nice, and suppresses her feelings. Kinga is forgetful, older, fatherly, and, well, misses his wife. And then there is Pomni, the newcomer, anxious and trying to understand what's happening around her. They all have their own distinct personalities, and with genuine human traits and emotions differing from Kane. So I think that the whole idea of the digital copy might be true, where it is a consciousness which can feel emotions, because basically they're not AI, but at the same time they'd have to be some kind of similarity between them and Kane. And in this case, they're constantly talking about feelings, which kind of differs them from the whole idea of them being completely digital, because, you know, you can't really feel emotion when you're digital. They each understand everyone's feelings, and it's plastered all over every single episode with the therapy sessions and the deep discussions between one another, whereas Kane, with his therapy session with Zubul, can't understand feelings at all. He can only think about the practical, problem and solution kind of way, which keeps him from ever getting close with the other characters. But I mean, say if they ever left, the only thing that he would ever really feel bad about is the fact that he can't carry on with his adventures, not the fact that they're gone, which kind of, though it is kind of sad to think that if all of them were gone, he'd just be dormant in this scenario. He even mentions how his entire existence is art and it's all he's good at, but like any good war criminal, AI copies art, which brings us to our next part. Kane's adventures. Kane's adventures are usually a mix of random things. Some are pretty good, like the Candy Canyon Kingdom, which is a mouthful, by the way, and A Nice Day at the Beach. Characters in them either become sentient or, well, but there was something that I've had noticed, and others have also picked up on. The horror adventure with Kinga and Pomni going into the scary door, while the others go in family-friendly, rated WoW, basically, in the rated WoW door for all ages. It makes the whole episode focus on the scary door, which is kind of odd how much of the story was linked with Kinga's, and the main AI of the adventure not only having a scarily similar tragedy of a deceased wife to Kinga, even being able to think, even Kinga having his own monologue moment. This makes me think just how much Kane took from real stories to make those adventures, and other people have pointed this out too. He must have stolen from the main cast, like their memories, just to mash it into one, and that's kind of all AI can do for art. In the real world, AI makes art by stealing actual artist's art and just spewing it back out in kind of like a jumbled mess. And that's all that Kane is doing. In this scenario, if he can control minds, then why can't he steal from them too, you know? And we know Kane's eyes are everywhere already, just like how we see Gangle with a little notebook. Yeah, the drawing of a bee. Hello. His whole purpose with wanting to impress. He needs feeding that information, which is kind of strange considering his eyes and a mouth. but yeah, anyway, he needs feeding that information to be able to do so. So now going on to episode 7, the whole Cain and Abel trope, which is in and of itself a very suspicious link to a real kind of biblical story. And if you don't know the story about Cain and Abel, basically they were brothers that gave offerings to God. Cain was a farmer, he'd give his harvest, while Abel was a shepherd and would give his flock. He gave the firstborn of his flock, and he got more recognition from God. And Cain was very jealous of Abel for this, so ended up actually ending his brother. He just ends up being trapped, but everyone wants him ended, like he did to his brother. But at the same time, he can't, because God is protecting him, keeping him trapped to just roam. But also the literal company logo, CNA. We know Cain is obsessed with the pictures of the offices, supposedly belonging to CNA, of which the rooms are all noticeably empty and dark, completely inactive, which would have me thinking that there would be no interest to Cain for these, because since he's an AI, in his whole AI mind, it would be pointless to try and learn from that, right? Besides the look of them, there's nothing there. Well, I mean, given he is made by CNA, plus the characters being theorized to be the actual employees of said company, and if he knows their minds how he can modify them, like I said before, what if he knows they worked there and wants to know so much about them and to make them happy so badly and steals all of their work for himself and throwing it back at them as his own? Hear me out. What if that is linked to abstraction? What if abstraction is realizing that everything you've made, everything you've done is pointless? It's just hopelessness. The whole Jax thing. I've heard other people, I've watched loads of videos and heard them talking about this as well, but the way that Jax kind of just gives up and he starts to abstract, or when he's panicking, he doesn't exactly abstract, he just panics and has flashbacks and hyperventilates. Like with Kaufmo, all of the drawings in his room, which more on that later, give the sense of him giving up. I feel like the whole consciousness thing makes sense, but when the human side of it is gone, all that's left of these characters is a jumbled mess. The world itself is digital and crazy and fantastical, but the logic behind it makes a lot more sense when you relate it to the references of the real world. And yeah, the idea of them being stuck in a computer in the first place is kind of crazy, but again, I'm trying to get both sides. This is a theory. Anyway, the abstractions. Ribbit, Kaufmo, Queenie, and Scratch, all abstracted, locked in the cellar, in the dark. Kaufmo the clown was known to be a terrible comedian, known for his bad jokes, but obviously loved by everyone. His room after his abstraction was left in shambles, with writing all over the walls and strange pictures dotted about. Most of the writing covering the walls just says exit. Some of the writing is more sinister. There is a specific painting of Kaufmo where he looks more human with writing on it that I spent a bit of time looking at because I've heard everyone giving their own theories as to what it says. I realized after so long, it blatantly says, "What did the exit say to the clown?" which can be seen on a few other things too, like the back of the sofa. And this links up with other bits of text dotted around the room that say "no way out," which is a terrible and really sad joke, but it's Kaufmo. However, there is one thing that stood out to me more, and I know other people have seen this as well and have also been trying to decipher it, but the drawing of the one giant Cain chasing Kaufmo, which also says "no way out," which kind of gives the idea, seeing Kaufmo all sad when usually his character is a happy, smiling clown, and all of a sudden in these drawings and these pictures, a lot of them are him frowning. He's sad, he's diminished into feeling hopeless, and the joke isn't funny, and he isn't laughing. Not to mention that the writing in red, the red door, you know, the fake exit, "no way out," and Cain, but there really is and has to be an exit. If Kaufmo was this adamant and this crazed over the fact that there was, then where is it? What if Cain is the exit? What if everyone just gave up, gave in, and abstracted, and then all of a sudden the whole circus runs into shambles because Cain has no one to entertain anymore. Cain has no reason. He can't do his own adventures because he made them. I mean, yeah, he's an AI, you probably forget about it in like 2 seconds. Forgets about everything. He forgot about the suggestion box because we've seen him glitch out plenty of times and he just ends up like kind of resetting and then being fine and just forgetting about it. But what if that slowly damages his code but he can't actually die? What if he's just forced to roam the circus forever and one day he's just going to be completely alone. But yeah, to wrap things up, in a nutshell, I believe that the exit is down to the fact if the characters give up the human sides of them, digital copies or not. When the human side of these characters is missing, then there's nothing for Cain, there's nothing for him to steal, there's nothing for him to claim as his own, like everyone else's ideas, and Spirit back-powered them, which is very similar to the same story of Cain and Abel, whole stolen valor thing. But also, if they are just digital copies, he also kills them unintentionally because they just end up giving up. But if they're not, he also just kills the characters in the circus, leaving nothing but a kind of just mess behind. Just a whole lot of jumbled code. But that's all I have for now. I hope you enjoyed. I'd love to hear your takes and ideas on this theory, or maybe of your own theories, in the comments. Make sure you subscribe and like, and maybe I'll do another video like this again, covering it more, or maybe other theories that I've also got in mind, because there are a few. But this is the one that I think lines up most. It might sound very boring, but it also just makes the most sense. And I know a lot of it is what people know already, so I apologise for rambling for so long. And if you're interested in buying any of my art, you could go on my InPrint account, which is linked in the description below. But it's there if you feel like checking it out. I'll see you in the next one.